that you know how like you don't want to log into things, right? So you just hit it up to remember me.
Yeah.
That saves as a cookie somewhere. And so it'd grab all of your cookies and that have your login information,
And then they get all the login stuff. Yeah.
So that's why like two-factor authentication is so important.
Yeah.
Because if they just have that, they can just get logged in.
I've also heard a lot of
playing the audio right now.
Yes.
Why? Because it still says broadcast that you were watching has ended.
I've also heard from like a lot of like IT people that
It's me, IT people.
using your phone as your second factor is like the worst one to use.
Well, so
It's like better to use like an authenticator app.
at phone, by phone I think you mean SMS.
Yeah, SMS specifically.
And it is the worst of them.
Yeah.
But it is still better than no
not,
two-factor.
yeah.
The reason that it's worst of them is less to do, to my understanding, less to do with the technology and more to do with there are like really easy exploits to get around it. And the exploits aren't digital. They're more like social engineering exploits. Like I could call Verizon and say, hey, I forgot my phone. Can you like send me a new SIM card or something like that?
I see.
And you like put a recording of like a baby crying in the background.
I've
I gotta
seen
go
that
across,
experiment.
something like that. It's that kind of stuff. Because if you can get a SIM card programmed like and pop it into a phone, then you can just grab those SMS signals.
Gotcha.
Like there's very little authentication.
It's sort of
Interesting.
it's the easiest way to get that sort
Are we
of
live
thing.
now?
Yeah, but if
Yeah,
you,
we're live.
but
We're live.
If you have an iPhone,
Yeah.
you can just keep the keys in your keychain,
Yeah.
and it'll just regenerate the codes, and it'll autofill them, and it's like super nice and easy. And then, like I know Google Authy.
I have-
like,
I
the same thing, too.
have to use multiple authenticator apps.
Yeah.
Like my work actually had me download one specifically
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah, I have
gotta
one
get
for
a
my
lockdown
work,
for
too.
it.
My university had
Always
to do that too.
Always keep your personal
All right,
credentials
can I-
and your work credentials in separate locations.
Yeah.
and
I have
use
to
separate
say-
Yeah,
browsers.
John,
Yeah.
it was really funny because Leah the other day was showing me this weird email she got at work, and she was like, "This link, it looks suspicious, but it's from somebody I know." And she clicked a couple of things, and I was like, "Well, you've already clicked more than I would have, so let's just see what it does."
Have you guys seen IT Crowd?
Yes,
I have not.
I'm not.
Chris?
it's British as heck.
That's why I haven't watched it.
It's so funny
Just
though.
the scene when he walks in with her laptop and she's like, I haven't even seen that one since the 90s.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say, speaking of two-factor authentication, my workplace.
What a segue.
Right. Well, we were talking about like authenticator apps.
Yeah.
My workplace has me download an authenticator app, and it's like the unique thing.
Remember,
for me,
this is being
log in.
streamed live.
I know.
Okay.
But I will have to say, it makes me a little worried that they're so good about the two-factor, right? And
What about the three?
there are other things that that are part of the chain that are not as good, and so I'm like, you were so close. Like you got part of
Like,
it.
are you talking about like password complexity and
It's
length
just
or
like
something like that?
part of the electronic security chain.
Oh, okay.
Some things are just a little.
Can you give me more details?
No, I cannot. I don't think that's a good idea.
I will say though, like I'm a super big proponent of very long, very cryptic passwords. Like most of my passwords are like 64 characters long.
That is long.
Oh, I choose something that I feel like is something that isn't unique to me. So that way
I don't
it's not
choose
something
anything. As if you use password manager and
But
you just
I need
paste
it
it in
whenever.
anyway. You just paste
Oh,
a
I
really
don't-
big long one.
No, I don't use.
I
It's
do that
so good.
I do that for work because we have a system for that.
Yeah.
But for my personal stuff, it's like I have my. It's bad, but
He
I'm like
uses
I have
really,
my
really
password.
complex passwords for his personal accounts
Is that
too.
one too? Yeah, no one can guess it. Actually, but it is.
Hello,
like, it is
Brad Toon.
Yeah. Anyway.
Hey, Brad Toon.
Hi, Brad Toon.
What's going on, dude?
I have the chat up on my phone, so that way
Wow.
I can like look and be like, haha, I see you.
The phone chat.
Is the chat working today on the computer?
It
For
actually
now.
is. Yeah.
Hey,
For now.
nice.
Hello.
I can't see it very well, but
Meat Hook Massacre is also right there.
All right,
Oh.
Brad
Just
Toon,
there?
could you do me
No,
out
like
of curiosity,
your
could you do a
Meat
test
Hook
for me? Can you send me a message, and I'll tell you what to send in a second, and then I'll respond to that message as soon as you send it, and we can see what the lag difference is. You tell me
Are you
how
just
much
saying,
the lag difference
can
is.
we talk?
And so, send me Queen. Type Queen,
Cleo has a really roundabout way of asking for a heart-to-heart.
and then I'll respond to that, and then you tell me how long it took for me to respond from when you sent the message.
We'll get going with the real, substance of the stream here in another 3 or 4 minutes, chat.
Hey, Josh.
Cleo, it
just
looks like
wants to
it's
be
like
called
a
a queen.
5-second delay about.
If we have
Oh,
3 or
okay.
4
Because
minutes,
hearing
I'm
you
going to
live and then watching your voice
Agua.
or watching your face on the stream.
Queen.
Agua.
I see it. I see Queen.
Spanish for water.
I see Queen.
Oh.
I see
It's
Queen.
right on the
Wow.
camera in front of Cleo. It's just
She was
this
left out in the
huge
cold.
red
I see
bottle
Queen.
and then the label Cleo at the bottom of it. You might
Oh,
catch
is this
it on the
mine?
stream. No,
Oh,
you can have one if you want it.
No,
I
it's
just bought
okay.
6 more today. So.
it's all right. I didn't actually want it. I just saw. It sounded like my name was on it, and I was like, that means it's mine now.
It's
I
got your
need it.
name on it.
It's mine.
Brad Toon calls you queen.
I saw that. I responded.
Good.
And then Brad Toon's going to respond with how many seconds it took in the delay for that to happen.
I
Yeah.
see.
Unless Brad Toon immediately like alt tabbed out and was just like,
It's a failed experiment.
anyway.
10-ish
10-ish
seconds.
Oh, okay.
10-ish.
Okay.
But we
So
don't know.
that's good
We
to
don't know
know.
the strength of
That's
of Brad
Amharic for
Toon's-
not very much.
Oh.
10-ish.
Well, I know there's always
Of
a
Brad Toon's
delay,
internet.
but like I was like curious because sometimes it's like it's like
Hey, Josh.
5-10 seconds. Sometimes it's a minute. Sometimes Twitch is like they don't need to know how live you are.
When did we get cooked?
Hey, Josh. When does Sean Connery show up to Wimbledon?
I want to grab one.
Yeah.
Tennis.
That's
I don't know why,
I knew that was about to be what you were going to do.
but Sean Connery. When I think of his voice, the only way I can think of his voice is saying the word Gestalt.
For me, it's in Indiana Jones 3. Junior.
Junior.
And then also just
Jones
like
Jr..
he's my favorite Bond probably still. Like he's just excellent in that role.
I do like the new Bond.
I think Daniel Craig is the second best Bond.
Do you know
I
when he
agree.
shows up for Wimbledon?
Speaking of actors,
Yes, I do actually.
Oh,
It's
was that
tennis.
joke told while I wasn't in here?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, I thought you heard the joke. You were doing a callback.
After he goes
Do
to
you
the
know this
dentist
a
at
really
2:30.
common joke?
So,
That was great.
speaking of
amazing.
actors, right?
Speaking of acting and role playing,
Oh,
And
we're not
gameplay.
doing that
See,
today.
I helped. I helped with the transition.
no, I took your transition off one set of tracks
was me.
and put
I
it on
was
a
the
different
segue
one.
the whole
I
Look at
helped.
me, I'm the segue now. You will be in character, but you will not require your dice for this epilogue scene. And for the chat's benefit and for your benefit, this is what we will call epilogue 1 of our story. This is not designed to give you closure on our player characters. This is designed to give you closure on our like a big climactic event yesterday. We will have a player character epilogue, like, what happens to them? Where do they go? Separately, so that these 4 very talented players have some
Jet
time
went
to
on to
process
discover
what has
country.
happened and figure out what that might be
What
for
does
their
Fox do with
characters.
the rest of his life?
Oh, we'll see that. We'll find out what Fox does with the rest of his incorporeal life.
Unlife?
Yeah, his
His
unlife.
unlife.
So that's kind of the basis for what's happening here tonight. And then after we finish this little epilogue moment, we're going to transition into the Nemmies, the premier award show of tabletop in the tabletop community, really.
It is.
And then that will be followed by about an hour of Ask the GM Anything, a no holds barred, ask me questions about the campaign, the gameplay, anything. My notes are your notes, essentially. Like, I won't print them out and hand them to you because that's a lot of paper.
Page
But
5 in its
Casa.
Yeah.
entirety.
but yeah, I will totally do that. Like, I'll go back to session notes or whatever you guys want. So, and that in chat, that goes for you too. You can ask me any questions you want to. So that is the kind of the plan for today's stream. Should be 3 or 4 hours. Weather's looking great at our destination. So just sit back, relax, enjoy the snacks, and we'll get you where we're going.
Snacks.
According to
nice.
my sources, we are on the big screen at the Brunello house.
Oh, we made it to the. We made it.
We made it,
it
guys.
to the big
We're on
screen.
TV.
And yesterday we were on 2 TVs at 2 separate Muff households as well.
Ooh.
So,
Amazing.
yeah.
Wow.
I have to say,
Well, that's good enough for me.
I think my head. I think my head's stuck in this nodding motion.
Cleo's figured out like podcast etiquette and it's like, oh yeah, I just have to nod.
Quick, ask Cleo questions real quick.
No,
Stop.
no, let's not do
we broke
that.
your curse.
Oh,
A cliff top at the northern edge of the Cavarette Mountains. 3 heroes stand watching the glow of a sunrise. Alan Wadrir, Jebediah Peppermint, Zothkag Hibub, you stand amid the burnt-out wreckage of perhaps the most impressive machine ever created, perhaps the best example of artifice the world has ever known. Artifice so strong that it was able to contain the power of the Rod of Seven Parts and channel it into a different magical ritual using the power of seven aspects of reality across 72 bygone eras to fix this one, to put it back on the rails, catapulting the avatars out of time into who knows what. You didn't see it. They sat down, they read an incantation, they looked at each other, they kind of shared a knowing look in each other's eyes, and they disappeared. And what you saw is the massive purple rift in the distance begin closing and receding until it disappeared up into the sky, where it now flickers like a ribbon chasing across the sky, getting smaller every 10, 20 minutes. It gets a little bit further away, a little bit smaller, a little bit less of the sensory chaos escaping the plane of limbo. The newly revealed distance, illuminated by the sunrise coming in from the side, shows plumes of smoke, dust, debris coming from where the city of Stainless once was. But you can't see it. You're not there. That's a problem for another day, maybe. Your airship has come into dock, Bruiser flying in among the kind of aftermath of the fight, and your crew, your staff, immediately leaping off the tugboat and kind of tending to the aftermath of the battle. Your wounds have been patched up. The monks of the Silver Sky who came to help you in the final fight have reunited with Mockery in the mountain and are kind of catching each other up on what's been happening. And amid all of that, the three of you are just kind of standing there. It's been go, go, go for like 72 hours. And now it's not. Now you are standing, there's a burnt out magic circle on the ground. You can't see all the runes, but like little bits of it kind of remain where the magical energy has flashed outwards from it. The dead body of Thraxenhow lays on the ground, kind of over the cliff on the, far below you on the plains of Fladena. And the sun is rising. What are we doing?
Are the big pillars of those three realities, are they still up, or do they disappear with the ritual?
The
floating platforms.
The platforms have collapsed back down into the ground.
Okay.
Do I feel a reconnection with Kelnor?
No. Yes, you do. Everything is connected and tied back in.
I know we said not really rolling, but I think Zothkog would like to use one of his abilities.
Okay.
Divine Intervention. I can request my deity's aid and roll a percentile die. If it's less than 14, they intervene.
Okay.
And I want to call upon Kelnor to either, or so Zothkog like he's kind of like staring off as like people are like celebrating and partying, and this is like the most serious Zothkog has probably looked ever, and not joining in on this.
I don't know that anyone else is partying.
Well, not party, but like celebrating, maybe. I don't know, like
okay,
like happy. I don't know what the.
This is the delicate aftermath of a battle. Okay. This isn't like nobody is cheering yet. No hats are in the sky.
Zoth is so focused, he doesn't even know. He just assumes.
Yeah.
But he just like closes his eyes and like brings his hands together. Like, Kelnor, I really want to get Fox back. If there's anything you can do to help in that, either finding a piece of him or if you have the power to bring him back, please. And I'll roll the die.
Do it.
61.
You feel a whiff of apple cat on the air, but you don't get a response. Doesn't seem like anything happens.
Alan will notice that Zoth is kind of standing near the edge of the cliff, and that Zoth kind of was in a praying sort of position, and Alan will kind of quietly come up next to Zoth, not to disturb Zoth, but just kind of set the Warhammer of Tectus near the edge of the cliff, and just kind of sit cross-legged next to it, and just kind of thinking, and honestly, like, here to kind of be next to Zoth, but also for this kind of moment to just like take in this view, take in everything that happened, and just kind of sit in it, and not try to think about the people who've died, not try to think about all of that yet, but just like absorb the moment.
I think when Zoth finishes, he's gonna like slowly open his eyes and just sit on the cliff edge and look out onto the world.
Alan will put one arm around Zoth when Zoth sits down.
As you look out at the world, you see far in the distance to the north, way beyond Fladena, where you know that the northern seas are, although you can't quite see the water. You do see dark clouds kind of gathering and forming in maybe not a random way. And that's just something you see kind of out there in the distance.
Jeb walks up to the other two guys, kind of sits down, tiny little guy on the end, little feet kind of dangling over the cliff edge, takes his hat off and sets it down next to him.
Oh,
We
we did it.
I'm going to be honest, I didn't think this far,
That's a first, Jeb.
I guess. I think maybe I'm going to go home. I think I need to tell Holly that Violet's okay now.
Did you see her when the will-o-wisps
Yeah,
came in?
I did.
Oh man, there's so many things that I want to do.
Like what?
There's finding Fox and seeing if we can bring him back.
What do you mean?
So if we can find a piece of him, like his leg,
Man, that's dark. Oh, his leg. Huh.
I can bring him back. Otherwise, there's some high-level cleric stuff.
Would it still be him?
Yeah.
Or would it be like
No, it'd be Fox.
his brain where the
It rebinds his soul to his body.
Oh, wow.
But
What if
higher level clerics don't even need a piece of the original body? They can just.
What if he doesn't want to come back?
That's Fox's decision.
That's
But I guess you
But
just
we
at
can
least
try.
be giving him that choice.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
So if we find the missing part of Fox, then I could bring him back.
Wait,
or
when did he lose his leg? I wasn't there for that.
I mean, yeah, technically you weren't. I mean, you were in the area, but you didn't see it.
It was
I mean,
in the
that was
Umbral Sea.
in the Umbral Sea. Yes, when you were
A year and
interacting
a
with
season
Laird.
ago or so.
Yes. I tend to I don't know. This is obviously around that time when we thought we had lost you, Jeb. I was of the opinion that it wasn't. We had other priorities to tend to rather than trying to rescue you or save you.
Yeah.
And to be completely honest, Fox proved me wrong, because Fox went and Fox
fought for you.
And my first instinct, kind of just sitting here processing this, was that Fox sacrificed himself willingly to do this for us, and so that we should respect that and let him stay at rest. But
I want to
thinking
give him
about-
the choice. It'll still be on him if he wants to come back.
well, that's what I was about to say, is that thinking about the
Fox would go after Fox.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Fox would go after any of us if we laid down our lives for this. And I
don't know about any of us. I mean, he'd definitely go after me and after Zod. He'd probably go after you. Yeah, I think you're right.
But so it's either find his leg or study and grow long enough to learn the highest level of cleric magic there is.
I will say, and Alan will kind of put his hand on the warhammer, on Tactus's warhammer, and say, Fox was not the only one to lay down his life in this. Tactus literally laid his body out to keep me from dying, and I would like to.
I do have the materials for
that.
one resurrection right now.
I guess what I'm not implying that we need to resurrect Tactus. I guess what I'm saying is I do feel a responsibility to honor other people's sacrifices as well, not just Fox's.
I could bring back one person that has fallen right now. As long as we have a piece of them.
Tactus did not. I mean, Alan kind of just kind of puts his arms. I don't know if we will be able to find a piece of Tactus. I guess what I'm saying, more than just talking about practicalities of trying to revive someone right now, is that I do feel a responsibility to go back to Udril and help with their recovery from this. And I mean, we also lost Gunnar.
I had just met him. I don't know how intertwined in the company he was.
Alan.
Is he really that important?
Lady Luck has a fickle way of putting things in our hands. Things that we don't expect. And you trading in your sword for a hammer. Maybe it's time to hang up the violence and start to building. It looks good on you.
Artificing.
I did not think of it that way, but I completely agree. And I think that's what Tactus wanted and what Fox would want as well.
There's a lot of hurt out there and a lot of smoke.
I think.
And a lot of brokenness that needs to be repaired.
Oh yeah. We also got to figure out where we want to rebase in Gaim.
Well, we also need to recognize and realize that there's a power vacuum out there.
Yeah.
And there are people who will take advantage of this.
Tactus was the only one holding all the clans.
This is true.
Together.
And we need to, maybe it's time for 4 guys to invest in more altruistic,
break away from dungeon delving.
Maybe.
And be more, as you said about myself, but I believe the company as well.
Do we just
be
keep
more into building?
Do we just keep a floating base and then have outposts in major cities?
I think on a practical level that, yes, I think that might be a good idea.
Maybe we leave the details and the minutia to affirmative.
I agree.
But
where is
ain't
that
no
little
rest
guy?
for the wicked.
Can I look around for affirmative?
Yeah. You look around, and as we said at the beginning here, the 4GAV staff have all kind of fanned out off of the airship, and they're doing sort of the cleanup things you do after a battle. The aboleths are gone. No hint of them on the battlefield anymore, but their work remains. And among those are, 5 huge elementals and a number of other kind of creatures and things that have not fully faded out. And so they're kind of moving around doing the business of taking care of that. Yeah, the Myconid, or affirmative the Myconid, is sitting on the nest of the Cugboat, and he's surrounded by spores, and every so often you see a spore fly out towards one of the company employees and then kind of zoom back towards him. You get the idea that he is coordinating and relaying information between them as far as like the cleanup and establishing a perimeter and safety. And you also see that a lot of the staff don't know how to interact with the founders in this moment. Mockery and Radford keep looking over towards Alan, but don't seem to know exactly how to approach him. And FP62 and Clara keep looking over towards Zothkug, but aren't exactly, like there's just a lot of uncertainty and hesitation. And as you're watching all of those pieces, you see that one person does approach the group. It is Riley. Riley very timidly comes forward and holds out Fox's rapier to Zothkug, which fell when he made his play. Riley on the Cug boat made sure to recover it and has brought it back to return to the group.
Zoth, sorry, this isn't a good time, but
it's fine.
I figured that Fox might want you to have this.
He takes the rapier. Thank you, Miss. I'm sorry, I don't know you.
It's Riley.
Riley.
The others, they don't know how to come to you, I guess. I'm really using this as an excuse to talk to you guys that we kind of need something from you. We need that we won, that this was worth it. We're kind of just
the aboliths are gone.
Yeah, I guess we just kind of sat down pensively after all that happened.
It was an emotional fight.
Well, you don't have to say it to me, but
as Riley's saying these things, Alan will actually walk up to kind of the remains of the machine and see if he can find, is there anything left of it that he can kind of stand on like a platform?
Yeah, sure. So like the barrels and the pylons and stuff, a lot of it was blasted backwards when they cast the ritual, all that energy that was being diverted into the machine was pulled back out again into the magic circle. So it's this big outwards thing. So the stuff is there. It's just all flipped over and knocked over. Plenty of debris for you to work with. But as Alan is kind of putting the rubble together and making a little platform to stand on, you also come across a small chisel etched with a number of runes on it that contains kind of a bunch of small different tools and things like that.
Zoth is going to cast Thaumaturgy on Alan.
And
as that's we can just freely cast now.
Jeb's going to use his scroll of control weather to start to like clear out the clouds and sun comes in and kind of like around the mountain.
You see that you cast control weather and the clouds clear in a perfect circle around the clearing you're in, but it doesn't dissipate right. The storm is still up there. These dark clouds, they're not menacing. They're just like, oh, look, rain, but it's still kind of out there swirling around you. Maybe a single little like of thunder kind of rolling through it, but nothing that's like, oh, it's going to pour on us,
Alan is going to stand on this little makeshift platform and look out to the rest of the company, and then look at the other two remaining founders and say, we could not be any more proud of this family. We have been through everything. We've been through hell together, and I could not be more thankful that you all stayed with us and did not question what we said, what we planned, what we kind of just left to you to say, trust us. You trusted us. And that is something that I cannot accurately put into words. And together, all of us have stopped the breaking of this world and begun a new era. And Alan will hold up Laerdith's multi-tool. That the avatars, while they will not be able to witness this new era, I know that they will be proud of what we do with it. Thank you. And Alan will then step down from the platform.
Riley starts the slow clap.
Yeah. The employee, you see Mockery holds up a cigar and salute and puts it back in her mouth. Radford gives a little sideways, he's probably got a little drink in his hand, kind of gives a little sideways salute. He's got his Geta on. Yeah.
And then as Alan steps down, he'll say, and most of all, we must thank those who sacrificed themselves to get us here. And then Alan will look to Zothkug and Jeb and honestly just approach them for like a group hug.
Oh, yeah. Zoth
and-
will come in, and then he'll motion the entire company to come in, join this just giant group hug circle.
The company responds. They come rushing in. It starts as like a tentative walk because they don't know Zoth very well, a lot of them. But as soon as they see that like Owlin and Jeb are on board, it becomes kind of a rush, kicking up dust and stones as this kind of fleet of people, Rex and Sasha, who have gone from, thieves who were out to get you to stalwart allies. The twins come rushing in, their little wheatling wings flying them in at shoulder height. You see, Mockery and Radford, and the mountain comes in with this big crushing hug. The whole group teeters a little bit on the cliff top. And there's just this moment for everybody. Clara comes zooming in. She drops a pot on the way. She was in the middle of cooking something. It was, you see as it spills that it was Gunner's soup sauce that he was like really good at making. She was making one.
Good at making, quote unquote.
Well, yeah, good at making. And the group just kind of stands there in this big group hug. And
Drinks are on me tonight.
and now the cheering begins,
Yeah.
And hats get thrown in the air. And as the hats get thrown up in the air, a little gust of wind seems to originate from the storm. Just a single gust, almost like you can feel it go in one direction. And it brings with it Gunner's hat flying across the wind. And it joins the four guys' hats that have all been thrown in the air. Gunner's fedora up there,
Zoth.
looking obviously cooler than all the other hats.
Zoth holds up Fox's rapier, catches it.
Yeah, and it like does a little ring
nice.
around Fox's rapier.
Yeah.
The smell of apple cat smoke mixes with the smell of Mockery's cigars, kind of surrounds you with a little bit of a wall of sensory pleasure, right? Like you've been surrounded by like darkness and screaming, and every time the aboleths did something, it was a glimpse into the plane of limbo, and it's fire and it's horror and the screaming of creatures. It's nice to just be around something pleasant.
Comfort and calm.
And as that happens, the clouds above you break through Jeb's control weather spell. They form over where you are, and instead of darkness, they part in a way that allows tiny pinpricks of light through. And you hear the voice of Zanir, god of the stars and order, as he just booms through, well spoken. And the clouds dissipate into the distance. As they dissipate, a huge crash of lightning comes down, and you can see that the moon has been kind of formed in the constellations of the stars above, and on the ground beneath, you see the shrines that were destroyed by the Aboleth armies out across the plains of Fladena, kind of reforming and drawing up out of the ground. You see the jungle of songs, which was burning to the east of you. You see the fires go out as you see the water kind of rush in like a tsunami tide over the city of Arivale, but instead of destroying everything, it parts exactly where the buildings and the people are. And you see briefly, almost in memoriam, the form of like a giant moose form out of the waves before it crashes down over the jungle of songs and puts out the fire. And there's a brief little moment of silence before you hear, it almost sounds like a steam engine coming to life, but it is actually a massive geyser bursting forth on the southern end of the Cavorite Mountains for the first time in 3 eras. The rusty geyser is running pure with water that is free of plague, as Laredith kind of kickstarts the cycle of innovation that the Hemetesians began back into focus. And amidst all of it, there's only one god whose influence you don't see or whose presence you don't feel. It's Kelnor, god of hospitality. And you get no sense of what might be happening with him or what's going on in that regard. Zothkug, you prayed to him at the beginning of this, and you never felt like you got a response. You get no answers on that front. You get no real insight. But Fox, you stand on the bow of a wooden ship half formed. You are surrounded by the spirits of those who were unable to pass on for 3.5 years. The material plane has been severed. And so there's been essentially an invisible, it's almost like the soft boundary of a video game. People arrive on the shore, but they can't get on the boats. People arrive on the boats, but they can't come into shore. And as you stand on this boat, there's only half of it kind of beached on the shore. You watch, you're laying there exhausted, having just, you grabbed hands with mockery and literally pulled the two planes together, giving just enough time for the Aboleth to cast their ritual. She slips away, and you are laying there on the boat, breathless. You look up, and you too are watching a sunrise. It's in the west, not the east. And the sun is coming up over a set of mountains, and they can kind of vaguely form in the distance. And then you hear a voice behind you, and it just says, "Well done." And you turn around, and Kelnor is standing there, not in the form of K. He's standing there as something more and less than K, incorporeal as everything in the ethereal plane is, but more real than real. A tangible humanoid being with the shape of everybody you've ever had a positive association with. Zothkug's face flickers across his visage. Owlin's face, Jeb's face, but also all the people you've known elsewhere. Elaine Mollusk and your friends from your childhood, and it's just everything you've ever felt good about, everything that's ever made you feel safe and home and like you were part of something is in this being that's standing there looking at you.
Well, sorry, the last of your kind that you gave us is here on this boat, but
why would that be a bad thing? You did it.
Yeah.
Not like in some vague, ambiguous way. Like you were the one with the hand, and like you did it.
It was a little heavy.
Yeah.
I may have pulled it up, yeah.
Pretty cool. She did that. It's pretty strong.
So, I don't know. I was just kind of enjoying the sunrise.
Yeah.
What kind of happens now?
I was gonna ask you that. We've got some options.
What do you mean?
Oh, well, okay. So the green guy, I'm almost certain he's gonna try and use magic to like rebind your soul to the material world, and that's an option to you. You don't like the boats are gonna start coming in again,
That sounds.
but you
like
don't have to get on one of them.
Okay.
So that's an option you could consider. You could get on a boat. Lots of boats coming in. And even now, as you look out towards the shore, this boat is still only half formed. It's the one that was severed when the planes were disconnected. But way out in the distance, you're seeing new ships coming in. And they're flying all different flags with these kind of runes on them that for some reason you understand intuitively represent each of the outer planes. This is what normally happens for the souls of the dead, is they're given a choice on which of the outer planes to go to, which deity to pledge themselves to, that kind of a thing, if they want to pass on, or they can wait and see if someone will come get them, or they can wander the ethereal plane, something between a ghost and a watcher. All of these options are available to people. And Kelnor says, so that's an option too. It'd be peaceful. Okay. It'd be great. You'd be, well, I mean, if you got on the right boat, some of those boats are going places you probably don't want to go. But most of those boats, pretty good options, in my opinion.
Fair. Well,
the thing I noticed about you, though, is that you're so adaptable. I feel like I've seen a lot of change in you while still being the same person. And I feel like going to one domain like that just feels a little shallow.
I feel like you're talking my language.
You've spent a lot of time, breaking down systems, taking things out. How'd you feel about putting things back in?
You've piqued my interest.
What's your thought on world building? And he unrolls a map, and you see that it says Urida, the 74th era, but he's crossed out 74 and it says 73rd again underneath it. He says,
Well, I had this class I was scheduled for, something about how to gain my feet back or, keep them. I don't know.
you got feet here, sort of.
Yeah. So I guess my schedule's open.
Could be fun.
You got drinks?
We got drinks.
If you're going to twist my arm like that.
I can't twist your arm. My hand would go right through it.
Yeah. All right. So how's this work?
So basically, okay. So the problem is this is a little bit. I'm not supposed to really do this without asking permission first, but I feel like the vibes are good. So like,
yeah, we'll work it out.
There's just an opening, in the avatar role.
Oh, yeah.
And it comes with benefits, but it's like a big job responsibility. It's a long paperwork process to get approved.
I do have on my resume, I promised to do the month of Mellow.
Right.
So.
And so it would even be like you could take over and then it wouldn't even be like he like didn't do it. It'd just be like, oh, it's the next one who did it.
You sure? I know we don't always got along on everything. I mean, right now I'm feeling the vibes, that's for sure. But
yeah, here, try one of these, and he hands you a drink.
All right. Oh wow, that got a kick to it.
Got a little bite, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So we got that.
I think we can figure this out.
Yeah,
I'm vibing.
We vibing?
We vibing.
Yeah, then you don't want to get on a ship anyway. And you hop down onto the shore with him, where an airship laden with lights that are kind of blinking waits for you.
All right. Well, besides, is there an option to kickstart my whole type again? I don't know. World was a little bit more flavorful with people like me.
Oh yeah.
around.
So what's cool about being an avatar, right, is that so the other gods have a lot more rules on their avatars where they're like, hey, we need you to like influence our world, like influence the world to do the things we want. The cool thing about being my avatar is that I'm like, mostly if you just keep the vibes good, like I'll just let you do your thing with this kind of pocket of power.
I think we're going to get along swell.
Yeah. So we just need to convince the other 4 now. You ready?
All right.
And on that note, this little brief epilogue for the end of the immediate aftermath of our adventure comes to a close.